mixture of soft-spoken with a little bit of a whisper voice. I'm going to alternate. Today, our book haul consists of some of the books that I have completed reading, and I have no more notes to take. And I want to keep these books, whether it's for myself, for teaching, for writing, or other purposes. And today we have some children's books, some teaching books, and some anti-racist books. The first book, Finding My Dance by Rhea Thundercloud, illustrated by Kalila J. Fuller. I remember when I first saw this book, I saw it posted online, and I was like, I have to have it, both for myself and for my students. And so this book is by Rhea Thundercloud, who is from the Ho-Chunk Nation and the Sambia Pueblo. She holds strong ties to her kinship in the Southwest and North, practicing both styles of traditional dance. This is Rhea Thundercloud. And this is the illustrator, Kalila J. Fuller, who was born and raised in Portland, Oregon, where she continues to draw inspiration from her childhood among the fir trees. And I love the artwork of this book. If I open to a page, I see that this book was published in 2022 by Penguin Random House. And you see the title page, Finding My Dance. And I'll show you one more example of a page and the artwork. It's so beautiful. And the font always finds a way to make itself known on the page. And so let's see what this book is about. On the front cover, it says, "Dance has always been a part of Rhea Thundercloud's path. At 4 years old, she was brought into the powwow circle, proudly wearing the special jingle dress made by her mother." You can see one of her regalia here. She performed with her brothers all over Indian country. Then she learned other styles like tap, jazz, and ballet, but sometimes she felt like an outsider. At school, she was the only Indigenous girl in her class. Now a professional dancer, Rhea has traveled the world knowing her ancestors are watching over her. She returns to her homelands and the sound of drums and feels proud to be Native American. With striking illustrations and inspirational text, Finding My Dance is an account of commitment and transformation, a celebration of heritage. It is the true story of a young girl's evolution into the dancer she was always meant to be. I highly recommend this book for young children and for those of us as adults who love dance, and as a really wonderful representation of Indigenous powwow dance, particularly from the Ho-Chunk Nation, and how we can learn about dances of, for those of us who live across Turtle Island, dances of this land. Finding my dance. The second book is another children's book. This book was gifted to me by a housemate, and it's called The First Blade of Sweetgrass, a Native American story. And this is a gold standard book. And this story is by Suzanne Greenlaw and Gabriel Frey, and illustrations are by Nancy Baker. And just like in Finding My Dance, if we turn to the back, we can see the authors and illustrators. So first, Suzanne Greenlaw is a citizen of the Houlton Band of Maliseet Indians. That's one of the authors. This is another one of the authors. Gabriel Frey is a citizen of the Passamaquoddy Nation. And this is the illustrator. Nancy Baker is a Maine artist, illustrator, and muralist whose landscapes, still lifes, and figurative worlds in oils and pastels are represented by Mars Hall Gallery in Tennant's Harbor, Maine. And let's see the information on this book. It's going to be in the back. Yes, it's in the back here, and it was published in 2021 by Tilbury House Publishers. And Tilbury House is the publisher of Native American picture book stories. And here's some examples of the inside and the beautiful illustrations telling the story of the first blade of Sweetgrass. Look at that landscape. Let's see what this book is about on the front inside cover. I apologize if I mispronounce any of these words and names. Muscon is excited to accompany her grandmother for the first time to pick grass for basket making, but she must learn to distinguish the sweet grass they seek from other salt marsh grasses. Frustrated at first, she closes her eyes and lets the sun's warmth and the spirit and peace of the marsh fill her. She sees her ancestors gathering grass as they have done for centuries. At last, the bright emerald blades of sweetgrass stand out before her, inviting her to harvest them. But she remembers not to pick the first blade she sees, leaving it to grow for future generations. This timeless story from a Maliseet mother and Passamaquoddy father includes back matter about Native American basket making and a Passamaquoddy Maliseet glossary. And this is the little image on the inside front cover of Muscon and her grandmother and the sweetgrass. I recommend this book also for anybody, children and adults otherwise, as I was never taught these stories. And this is by authors who hold these lineages and these traditions, so it's representative in an honoring, authentic way. And it's just a beautiful story, and the illustrations are so soft and beautiful and relaxing to read. The First Blade of Sweetgrass. Yeah, on the back, if this is sounding familiar to you, you are familiar with Robin Wall Kimmerer's work, she writes something about the book on the back. Okay, the next book number 3 is more about pedagogical documentation of a project in Montreal through McGill University called Art Connecting, Workshops with Children of Asylum-Seeking Families by the McGill Art Hive Initiative. And I got this book when I attended a conference on arts-based research methodology. And this book was, more of this documentation was published in 2019 by the McGill Art Hive Initiative. And let's see, I think on the very first, what I love about this book is it's dedicated to children, and it keeps all the children's anonymous. It doesn't post any images of their faces, just their artwork and other parts of them, so they keep their identifying information safe and secure. So let's see, what is this project about? This is from the last paragraph about the project. This series of workshops allowed artists, academics, students, and other members of our community from refugee and non-refugee backgrounds to meet, collaborate, create, and learn from each other and our common experiences, creating a space where we all belonged. Through Art Connecting, we want to share some of these experiences and the artwork that these children made, expecting that it will encourage the development of more and meaningful art connections between different experiences, cultures, and contexts. And so something that I loved about this, I don't know that one of my critiques of this project is it seems like it was kind of arts as activities rather than connecting to more deeper learning. But I think the project was more about inviting these students, these children in to rest and build community. But I use this in my courses for my students because it does a really wonderful job of showing how we can document and showcase arts-based learning to a broader audience besides just the students. And it can help us advocate for arts in education. And so, if you're looking for an example of how to document arts-based teaching and learning and workshops, in particular for supporting asylum-seeking families, this could be something to consider. And now, the fourth book is another arts book. I read this a long time ago. I read this for one of my either undergrad or master's degree programs. And this is called The Colors of Learning, Integrating the Visual Arts into the Early Childhood Curriculum. This book does not keep children's information anonymous. And this book is by Rosemary Althouse, Margaret H. Johnson, and Sharon T. Mitchell. And this book was published by Teachers College Press and supported by the NAUIC, which is the National Association for the Education of Young Children. I still have my notes in here, but they're all annotated into my computer. Okay. So, this book over 20 years ago in 2003. And let's read the back to see what this book is about. Unique in its creativity and depth of understanding, The Colors of Learning will change the way that teachers think about and react to children's artwork. Promoting the integration of visual art into all early childhood curriculum areas, this volume will help early childhood professionals to present in-depth art experiences to children so that they become engrossed in expressing their ideas and newly learned concepts through art media. This user-friendly volume features actual classroom dialogue throughout the text and many illustrations of children's art, including some in full color. Based on standards endorsed by the National Association for the Education of Young Children and the National Art Education Association, this important book focuses on Lev Vygotsky's theory of social interactions in learning, showing how teacher-child and child-child relations become an important part of art experiences, helping teachers to use more effective language to build children's conceptual knowledge and guide them in their art making, the use of many kinds of art media, providing examples of developmentally appropriate activities to improve children's thinking and learning, moving away from art that is solely created to be quote-unquote cute and pleasing to adults, to art experiences that develop the child's individual expression. I think that this book was somewhat helpful for me when I first read it because I wasn't trained at all in teaching visual arts. And there's some help, like just teaching strategies that are of use. But I think that I would recommend, if you're interested in learning how to teach and why to teach, specifically the visual arts to young children in early childhood education, I would recommend looking up more up-to-date texts. But this could certainly be something that could be worthwhile if you find it in a little free library, for example. The Colors of Learning. All right, the last two books. My first book is the book that I read in 2020, in one of my anti-racist coalitions. It's a pretty popular book. It's a New York Times #1 bestseller, and it's called White Fragility: Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism, and it's by Robin DiAngelo. And this book is published by a really nice publisher, Beacon Press. I have a few books by them. Some really wonderful radical authors. And this book was published in 2018 based on Robin DiAngelo's research that she's been doing for a while. And I use this book personally. I use it for teaching, for writing. I pair it with a lot of other books about racism and anti-racism by Black, Brown, Indigenous, Asian American, Pacific Islander folks and authors. Let's read the back and see what this is about. What is white fragility? In this groundbreaking and timely book, anti-racist educator Robin DiAngelo deftly illustrates the phenomenon of white fragility. Referring to the defensive moves that white people make when challenged racially, white fragility is characterized by emotions such as anger, fear, and guilt, and by behaviors including argumentation and silence. These behaviors in turn function to reinstate white racial equilibrium and prevent any meaningful cross-racial dialogue. In this in-depth examination, DiAngelo explores how white fragility develops, how it protects racial inequality, and what we can do to engage more constructively. And I recommend this book for folks who are curious to learn more about whiteness, white supremacy culture, how it operates in all of our bodies, particularly in white bodies, but also in white culture, like the culture of society that is based in white supremacy culture, carceral culture, for example. And Robin DiAngelo also offers in her author's note who this book might be good for, and who this book might not be a surprise to. I recommend this book, White Fragility by Robert DiAngelo. And the last book that I'll share with you today is another book that I read for another anti-racist coalition back in 2020. It's called I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austin Channing Brown. And I watched an interview with the author, Austin Channing Brown, and Brene Brown back in 2020. And I think I also listened to some podcasts. So this book was published by Convergent Publishers. And let's see. When was this published? So Convergent Books is an imprint of Penguin Random House books. And this was also published in 2018, the same year as White Fragility by Robert DiAngelo. And I love the feeling of the pages of this book. They're so soft. And it's a really good sound for the page flipping because they're so soft. And I also have quite a few notes in this book, and I fully typed up my notes into my laptop again for writing purposes, teaching purposes. I haven't really used this book for teaching, but what I appreciate about this book is it gives Austin's perspective of her experience, particularly working to ensure her self-dignity as a Black woman inside of a white supremacist society. And let's read the inside back cover, or the inside front cover rather, to see a little bit more about what this book is about. Austin Channing Brown's first encounter with the racialized America came at age 7, when she discovered her parents named her Austin to deceive future employers into thinking she was a white man. Growing up in majority white schools, organizations, and churches, Austin writes, quote, I had to learn what it means to love Blackness, end quote. A journey that led to a lifetime spent navigating America's racial divide as a writer, a speaker, and an expert helping organizations practice genuine inclusion. In a time when nearly all institutions, schools, churches, universities, businesses claim to value diversity in their mission statements, I'm Still Here is a powerful account of how and why our actions so often fall short of our words. Austin writes in breathtaking detail about her journey to self-worth and the pitfalls that kill our attempts at racial justice in stories that bear witness to the complexity of America's social fabric, from Black Cleveland neighborhoods to private schools in the middle-class suburbs, from prison walls to the boardrooms at majority white organizations. For readers who have engaged with America's legacy on race through the writing of Ta-Nehisi Coates and Michael Eric Dyson, I'm Still Here is an illuminating look at how white middle-class evangelicalism has participated in an era of rising racial hostility, inviting the reader to confront apathy, recognize God's ongoing work in the world, and discover how Blackness, if we let it, can save us all. I found that this was, for me, because of my familiarity with the topic already, this was a really short, easy read. It's really, I find, accessible for a broader audience because it doesn't utilize a lot of academic jargon necessarily. It's really about storytelling and helping all of us make sense of the world that we live in. So I would recommend this book, I'm Still Here, by Austin Channing Brown. Mil gracias. Y hasta luego.